Hi, everyone, and welcome to Generation 180's Electrify Your Ride Week event, an evening of electrified classic cars. If you're here to learn about some awesome EV conversions, then you're definitely in the right place. Tonight, we're going to hear from the leader in this industry, Michael Bream, CEO of EV West. He'll take us on a tour of his shop and answer all of your behind-the-scenes questions. Before we get started, I want to tell you briefly about Generation 180. We're a nationwide nonprofit organization based in Charlottesville, Virginia, working to inspire and equip individuals to take action on clean energy. My name is Stuart Gardner, and I'm joined by my colleague Blair St. Ledger Olson. And a special thanks to our team member Nate McFarland for supporting tonight's event and the awesome music. Here's a quick look at the three major focus areas of our work. We're working to flip the energy script, helping us move from a narrative focused on climate doom and gloom to a story focused on where we need to go, a world powered by 100% clean energy. A story that says we can do this and we all have a role to play. We focus on individuals in their homes and their communities because your energy matters, because certain behaviors and technologies not only help fight climate change, but also help build the social momentum and the political will we need to get big system level changes. We lead two major nationwide campaigns. Solar for All Schools, which just released their 2020 Brighter Future report, and Electrify Your Ride, which works to make EVs more accessible. Solar and EVs are clean energy solutions proven to address two of the largest sources of carbon dioxide, emissions from electricity generation and transportation. As part of our Electrify Your Ride campaign, we host educational events like this one where people can learn more about EVs. This week is full of online events that are great for EV owners, EV advocates, and EV curious alike. We have sessions that will dive into policy, EV buses, expanding EV access, and much more. We're even giving away an awesome e-bike. So drop in for a few sessions, stay for them all. It's all free and open to everyone. A few quick housekeeping items before we dive in. Because of the large number of people joining us tonight, everyone's going to be on mute for the remainder of the event. Please use your Q&A and not the chat if you have any questions, and we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we can over the next hour. Before we kick it off though, we want to briefly hear from some of our friends at Classics for Climate and see how EV conversions support a transition to electric transportation. Charles, Paul, you guys want to kick it off?
Yeah, hi, thanks Stuart, and thank you Blair for having us. We very much appreciate it. Charles and I are starting Classics for Climate to use eye-catching vintage cars basically to create a greater interest in EVs. So we're actually looking at EV conversions through a different lens. Everybody can get excited about a cool car or an old car that they don't see very much. Old cars loosen us up. The nostalgia makes us feel good. So some car owners with a sentimental attachment to an old car or a performance car want to modernize it and bring it closer to today's safety and performance standards. Electric conversions are the way to go for that. So a whole new cottage industry has grown up around EV conversions. In fact, one of the leaders is Michael Bream's firm, EV West, in that field. So all the EV conversion customers might not be motivated by climate concerns, but cool vintage cars do get people's attention. And that's why we want to convert eye-catching, gas-powered vintage cars into eye-catching EVs, because cool vintage cars are a proven way to get people's attention.
That's right. We do a variety of events, and when I say we, I mean electric vehicle owners, as well as chapters of the Electric Auto Association, various groups. Go to farmers markets, festivals, even the auto shows. But if you're going to change somebody's mind about a technology like electric vehicles that may be unfamiliar to them, to pick something that they may be familiar with, that goes back to their childhood or back to something that they're familiar with, that it can hopefully get their attention and hopefully to look at the EV technology as something, not an abstraction, but something that's real. It's right in front of them. So we're going to be planning to bring these converted EVs to different kinds of public events and back them up with informational displays. So the basic 101s on what electric vehicles are and so forth. So that way, once we get people hooked up with the cars, then we have the information to back it up, and hopefully we'll leave from that interaction with knowing a little bit more about the technology.
I think as everybody on this call knows, motor vehicle emissions account for 50% of greenhouse gases. So more EVs mean less greenhouse gases. It's that simple. This is the photo we have up, the slide we have up is our first Classics for Climate car. It's a 1973 Volvo 1800 ES. I purchased it in Ontario and drove it home to Virginia. And on the way home, it got a lot of thumbs up on the road and enthusiastic engagements from people at every gas station, from just exactly the folks we need to reach. That's when I was reassured that we had the right first EV conversion candidate. I've since refurbished the car and now we're ready to do the actual EV conversion. But the thing is this, we need to get a lot more people excited about electric vehicles. But to do that, first we have to get their attention and pique their interest. That's what the vintage EVs are for. Then we can talk to them about the importance of EVs for them in their life. I think it's been proven in a lot of fields over time that person-to-person communications are the best way to successfully change social habits. The efforts Charles started a few years ago to accelerate the adoption of EVs are no different than that.
Yeah, usually it's the vehicles that are unique that get people's attention, because sometimes, with the electric vehicles that are on the market these days, they look like any other car. But when you have a Tesla, when you have some of the more luxury vehicles, when you have sort of more unusual 2- or 3-wheel vehicles like we've done at the auto show for a number of years, that definitely will grab somebody's attention. And so this is right along the lines of as some people might say, well, why not focus on just the practical? But again, it's a matter of getting people's attention. It's grabbing at people as they're walking by.
So in short, we just need to spread the word to a lot more people a lot more rapidly. So this really is a different use or a different purpose for EV conversions. We want to take the excitement that a vintage car can generate and redirect that excitement into the advantages of EVs for everyone. So we've set up a Facebook page to help us get this done. Please check it out when you get a chance. It'll give you a lot more detail about how the project's going to work. We also have some very cool ideas about what would make the next great Classics for Climate EV after the Volvo. But we're looking for suggestions from everyone who joins us. And having said that, I guess we can all take a look at some really exciting cars that Michael's working on.
Thanks, Paul. Charles, that's great to hear your guys' project. And if you want to talk about getting people excited about electric vehicles, Michael, no question, knows how to do that. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and EV West, and maybe talk to us about your garage?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Stuart. And thanks, Paul and Charles. Couldn't have said it better myself. Definitely want to shine a light on the classic cars and help that to promote electric vehicles. And thanks, Blair, as well. Very much appreciate the opportunity being here. So I know that you guys wanted to get right into it. And the first order of business was we were going to do a quick shop tour. So if you guys are ready for that, it's a little casual, but I'll just take you on a quick trip through the EV West shop. I hope my microphone comes back. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Good. Okay, so hopefully we won't have dropouts. So I'm just going to take you on a quick tour straight from my office into the installation bay, and we get right into what we're known for, Volkswagens and Porsches. Here we have a 23 window Volkswagen, and we've got a Porsche as well, a soft window Targa right here. We've got some more Volkswagens over here. We have a pickup truck, and we've got a bus. This is Zach Galifianakis' bus, which is pretty neat. Over in the
casual. Zach Galifianakis' bus.
God, everybody seems to love this car. It's the Back to the Future car. I don't know if it's tall enough there, but
yes.
We do a lot of work, and a lot of these things, we're in the progress of building them. And what we do is we build these battery boxes, something like this here, pre-assemble it, pre-engineer it. And then when it's all built, we'll put the car up on the lift, and there's a nice open space back here, and we can install that stuff. So it makes it really nice and easy. Over here, I got a Porsche that we're just getting ready to ship and finalize. This car's, and it's got our Tesla system in the back. And we opened it up too, so you can see some of the electrics involved with the battery monitoring system and some of the stuff that it takes to convert a car into a modern EV conversion system. Now, we did just get back from Bonneville, of all places. We went out and tried to set a land speed record, and we were able to do that. We hit 238 miles an hour in a 1,000 kilogram or less electric vehicle, and that's this car right here. We're calling it the Electroliner. And so this is in our fabrication bay. We've got machine tools, lathes, mills, bandsaws, all that stuff over here. Then we have another fabrication bay with a couple more cars. This is a Dowsett Classic right here. This is Ansted's car.
Beautiful.
The details in this are amazing. It's got an integrated battery pack, so you can see it in there, nice and low, good center of gravity. And then the guys over here, I'm gonna slip past a couple of my technicians.
Hi,
They're
guys.
working on the Volkswagen thing over here, and it's got the Tesla motor in it, and just makes it really nice and easy. No transmission, it just pops right in there. Hook up the wheels, and you've got all the power and the convenience of a Tesla, and none of the problems of the old combustion motor in there. So we have a couple more bays. It goes all the way down to the end of the building.
Hey, that's not a conversion. That's an i3.
Internet connection. So I'm not going to walk all the way down there, but there's warehouses full of motors and batteries and stuff like that. There's one of our other technicians still working. Most of the guys went home. It's getting kind of late in the day. And so I apologize for the shaky camera and the casual nature of this.
No, we love it.
A really neat way for people to see the EV West shop and get an idea of what we do in real time. And, Paul and Charles really did such an exceptional job. We're not here, guys like Paul and Charles and I, we're not here to try to save the planet. We're not big enough. You just saw my whole shop. We're here to be influential and get people into opening an eye. There's a lot of old souls in automotive, and they're not easily convinced on this stuff, right? And they start seeing these things. They start seeing, maybe a classic 1965 Mustang, and it goes faster than yours, and it's clean, and your neighbor's driving it for free because he's charging on his solar panels and stuff like that. So these are the types of stories that we want to tell, that quite frankly, a Tesla or a Leaf can't tell the same story, and so we're all, they can't do our little soulful nature, and together we make a really good team, especially with renewables, coming in. Basically our race fuel is solar power, and so it just, at the end of the day, everybody coming together just makes a package that works really well, and an integral part of that are these classic conversions, obviously, and specialty stuff, stuff like, it's not just the classic cars, so the things like our Pikes Peak car, which we're kind of known for. We've done some off-road stuff, and the Bonneville project, just taking one of these Tesla drives. People are like, how fast can they go? Well, they're limited to 155 miles an hour. Well, let's hack in there and play with
Not anymore.
and see what we can do. And yeah, we got it on faster. And you know what? We're not satisfied. We're going to go back next year and try and increase our record even further.
Oh, that's awesome.
Michael, that's really cool. Were you a car guy first and then an EV advocate, or what was that journey like?
Great question. I was really lucky. My dad grew up in North Hollywood, and back in his day, that was like a hot rod scene. He hung out with guys like Von Dutch. And so he got me into cars at a really young age. I mean, my fondest memories of hanging out with my dad was on the floor of the shop and in the garage working on the car. And so, I grew up and went to college. I got a computer engineering degree. While at UCSD, we actually did an electric vehicle project that was around a drive system for a boat, actually, a data gathering boat. But so I got fascinated with it in the college years in the early 90s. And it's just something that's always kind of been there in the back of my head. I had another manufacturing business, and that afforded me some free time. Started to get into some amateur car racing, and that led back into the electric vehicles. And that was in 2009, and it's just been a total blast and a lot of fun ever since.
That's awesome. Okay, so
to more directly answer your question, Stuart, yes, the love is for the cars, right? And it's so incredible that our byproduct is for the environment, but the true, the driving factor here is the cars. We really want to save the cars because, they do take a lot of work and resources, and they do create pollution. So one of the things in this whole algorithm of cleaning up the planet is not rushing out and buying a new car, having something like Charles's old, P1800 Volvo, and just keep something like that around, keep it in public view where people can see it and give them the thumbs up. That's part of. Cool.
Is he gonna come back? Michael, are you with us? All right, guys, he'll be back. So the fun thing about Michael's shop is that it is out in what I would call from Virginia the stick. Oh, and then he's back.
So sorry, I'm not sure.
I'm about to be like, he's calling us from the sticks.
There was plenty to talk about having gone through the garage just then. So we're like, did you see the DeLorean? Did you see the?
Yeah. I'm so sorry, guys. We are kind of in the sticks. We're in rural San Diego County, so we're not in the best area for internet. But thank you for sticking with us.
Of course. Hey, thank you for. Yeah. No, thank you. We're just here to learn. So EVs, I would say, have an unfortunate reputation for being boring and not fun to drive. And I blame the Prius, which isn't even an electric vehicle, for everyone on this call, just in case. How does your work set out to counter that misconception that EVs aren't fun to drive?
Well, I think, for us, our demographic enjoys a vintage car. So they're not so much about how fast is it and 0 to 60 times. A lot of it's the spirit of the drive. Like when, they drove the Volvo back from Canada, they were getting thumbs up at gas stations. That's part of the whole thing. So I think it's a blend of that, where you're kind of leaning on that part of the classic car. But at the same time, the new drive and the environmentalism of that aspect of it, right? So it's really a blend of all of these things coming together, right? We wouldn't exist without the classic cars, and also without the very nature of these new EVs constantly trying to improve all the metrics, the range and the battery and the charge time and things like that. So it's this side dish that makes it fun and unique, and to see where we can really go, right? These larger manufacturers like Tesla, like Nissan, they're not going to necessarily try to hack their stuff and see how fast it will go on the salt flats. And there's car guys out there that are genuinely curious, right? Like genuinely curious. So if you want to appeal to those and keep bringing that demographic in, right, is what kind of is our job. Then that's what we got to keep doing. Just be professionally curious and keep trying to build these exciting projects. And it's neat because it's a win-win. We want to do that anyways, but the very nature of doing that, I think it does get people excited, like Paul and Charles were saying, and gets them involved in opening their eyes to the electric vehicles and not being so boring, or whatever. And I don't like to associate that, because there's obviously boring gas cars out there, right? So to us, it's just, you stick with these classics, and I think boring is one of the last words in the vocabulary when you get around to describing them.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Seeing some of the stuff you're working in there, it looks like you're drawn to a certain, manufacturer, Porsches and Volkswagens. Is that personal taste, or some cars just make better platforms to put in the electric powertrains, or is it all based on customer preferences?
Well, it was a little skewed. We didn't get down to the far building with the Dodge van and Tony Hawk's Chevy Corvette and some of the other stuff. It just so happens my office is right outside the Volkswagen bay, and I have a Volkswagen door behind me. But yeah, Stuart, the Volkswagens and the Porsches in general are an air-cooled vehicle. They don't have a liquid cooling system, so you don't have all the plumbing. You don't have the large radiator up front. They tend to be more aerodynamic. They tend to be lighter weight, and all of that added up is easier to convert, which is less money for entry for the customer, right? So if you want to get into doing classic cars or convert a classic car, one of the first questions is, what's going to be the easiest path? And more than anything, just being a rear-engined, air-cooled car is going to make that path easy and affordable, more affordable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, we talked about, what are the vehicles that you're kind of more drawn to? Are there a few of your top favorite of all time for your lifetime convergence. Oh, stop.
I'm so sorry. He's going home. We're doing everything. We're homeschooling like everybody. Work
That's
schooling.
precious. That is. Oh, hi, sweetie. Hello. Guys, 2020 is weird, but it has silver linings.
What's
Yeah.
his favorite car, Michael?
Yeah, that's wait. No, come back. We want to talk
Eli,
his
what
more.
is your favorite car? Come here. What's your favorite car?
Tesla Cybertruck.
Okay.
Yeah. How fast did we go at Bonneville?
238.
Yep. And did you have fun out there?
It was pretty hot, but it was fun.
Yep.
It was pretty. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. But he rides an electric bike, and we actually started with some friends something called the Electric Vehicle Learning Center. And
Awesome.
we're bridging this gap of knowledge between the parents and the kids. When I grew up, if the lawnmower didn't work, my dad would take me out to the garage and show me how to change the fuel filter, and we'd clean the jets in the carburetor and cleared in the air filter, and we'd start it. And it was fun. And these things later on in life, you realize those were like really neat bonding moments for myself and my dad. And now you have these fathers, you have kids like Eli, and he runs around on his electric scooter, and it runs on 18650 batteries, and it's 10S4P, and nobody knows what that means.
I don't even know.
Oh, right. And so
Like, what?
if you know electric scooters, you know what I said, but most people don't. We have this thing where we're trying to set up STEM classes and do hands-on classes with parents and kids and kind of make that connection. And we've got some simple projects where they take small electric bikes and electric scooters. One of them is a Razor makes an electric motorcycle, and it's got older technology. In one of the classes, they come in and they actually upgrade. They build their own battery pack out of lithium-ion batteries that are recycled, and they build their own battery and install it in their bike, and they upgrade their bike. And it kind of bridges that gap between the kids and the parents and kind of teaches them this new technology together, so they have like a common knowledge base and they can share, and hopefully it helps them grow closer, and it spreads the fun of all this stuff. Because
Yeah.
you know, we used to have mopeds that ran on gas. I mean, they were awful and they were noisy and nobody liked them. And now we live in this era where we can ride electric bikes and electric scooters and just have a ton of fun on it and go home and plug it into the solar panels, and it makes you feel good. And so it's something that, you know, we want to celebrate, really.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
my dad's on this call, and so my 70-year-old father just got his first electric lawnmower. And
Yes.
I'm very proud of him.
Yes.
But he did remiss that he did not get to have that experience that you got with your father and he got with his father, where, you know, they watch you mow the lawn and slug it through with the gas powered motor. He's like, I missed my opportunity. Come mow my lawn with the electric one now. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I think I'm past that. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, and it's been great. You know, my father, I mean, I could have turned into a full gasser. And when I started EV West in 2009, you know, I was actively racing BMW cars, combustion cars. It was what we did as a hobby, and it was fun. But I always had this thing in the back of my head that it could be done differently, you know, and just wanted to more prove it to ourselves more than anything. Well, fast forward a couple of years, my father actually helped us build the Pikes Peak car and helped with the program, went to Pikes Peak, helped out in the pits and everything.
Aw.
And then now in 2020, at the start of this year, when we started the Bonneville project, he came in here and was working, and, you know, he just turned 80 and he was helping us build the battery packs, and he went to Bonneville with us, and you know, it was great. He was a very valuable member of the pit crew and the team out there. And
Awesome.
in fact, we took this 3-generation photo together with Eli and my dad. And so it's neat, and hopefully maybe Eli with his kids in the future can share these same kind of experiences, because now our generation, all of us together collectively, are going to make motorsports sustainable. And that's the one thing we can go, you know, we're doing this for the love of motorsports. You know, we don't want motorsports to go away. And if we start creating all these vehicles that are faster than combustion vehicles, more exciting to drive, and they start setting records, then it's really just a transition to motorsports and nothing else, kind of like when the turbo came in or some other piece of technology that made a large jump in performance.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and we've done some events talking about electric racing. You know, we love that. And Stuart and I are both, our stories are more that we were automotive fans first, and, you know, as environmentalists, we became EV fans. And so we love to highlight the electric racing opportunities. You know, it's sport for purpose. And you're seeing, I mean, you're seeing it blow up, especially we're super excited for Extreme E to launch, which is off-roading, electric SUVs,
Very cool.
the most remote areas in the world. Like, it doesn't get much more badass than that.
It doesn't. And they're doing the same thing. They're not trying to save the environment. And I'm sure there's a ton of combustion involved in transporting that stuff. And, you know, we're early.
Actually, there's not. They're doing it in
I mean, they offset it.
Others.
Right. You know, but in the big picture, just the whole, I mean, they're a traveling show, basically. They go around the world and show people what can be done. And if we're going to get to that point where we transition, this is where it starts, right? This very thing. And that's what's so exciting. Would you like me to answer some questions? And just, I see some questions popping up on my screen. I'm sure there's some people out there that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to fire these off because it says there's a bunch of them in here. So
I know, it's about to be like, there's like 30.
No, this is so great because I actually love this because these are a lot of really good questions. So I'm just going to go down the line. The first one's from H. Taylor. Yes. He wants to know what's the criteria to electrify a car. And generally for a conversion, you know, big vehicles are out right now. No trucks, no RVs, no vans, no buses. If you can describe it as small and light and preferably old, it's a ideal candidate. Also, if it's a car that you think maybe next year it might be worth more money than it's worth this year, it's a prime candidate, right? So that narrows it down to thousands of vehicles. But at the same time, it eliminates a lot of vehicles that you might have been thinking of, buses, vans, and things like that. What I tell people is this: a lot of our components come from the OEM factory EV market. So until you see Ford truck, electric vehicles, Tesla Cybertrucks, until you see that stuff on the road, it's a good chance that aftermarket companies aren't going to have those components either. Great question. So another question here, they're asking about the Tesla Supercharging network. And no, that's private, actually. You need a Tesla. Now, other automakers can make deals with Tesla and reimburse them. But at the end of the day, you're using their electricity. So you're essentially using their fuel. And it's a level 3 charging standard. So we're not compatible. Nobody's compatible. But we are able to quick charge at CHAdeMO and CCS locations, and that's expanding as well. So stay tuned there. That's a story that just keeps writing itself.
Hey, Michael, there's a question in here that's actually related. It's down at the bottom, so I'll read it for you, but that's related to the one we asked first. It's from Wendy, and she says, I want a small electric off-road vehicle. Should I buy an electric Smart 4.2 and convert it to off-road, or a Jeep Wrangler and convert it to electric? And I think you may have just answered that question a little bit for her.
That is really tough. That is a really, because both of those things are tough things to do. I can't imagine what it would take to make a smart car go off-road. And Jeeps are just slightly outside that bubble right now. You can definitely do Jeeps. We've had people do like kind of that rock crawler type of vehicle. We worked with Poison Spider a couple of years ago. They did a demonstration vehicle for SEMA, and it actually went out and did parts of the Rubicon Trail, and that was really neat. We have a customer that did a Suzuki Samurai, which is like a mini Jeep, an old and that car is fantastic. So there's a lot of that stuff, and it really depends on what you're looking for. But if you're kind of one of these people now that is doing this overlanding and you expect to go long distances, stick with combustion. Make a light, you know, imprint on the earth and come back around in 5 years when the battery density gets better, because there'll be something there. But right now, the market's really new, and that long distance stuff and the really hardcore off-road, it's coming, and it's going to be great, but it's just not here quite yet.
Not quite there.
It's here, but it's not affordable, right? So just wait.
Yeah, it's fair.
That's what, like you were saying, Blair, that's what the Extreme E is for. Let them spend the millions of dollars on exhibition vehicles. And that technology will come down in price, and it will come to us. So the great news is it's coming. Yeah.
Michael, here's one. Is there a waiting list for your conversions? And do people typically bring you a car, or do you source the car?
Yeah, so we never source the car. It's a very personal thing, right? This is somebody like picking out your clothes. And we do have a waiting list. It's currently at 5 years, so we're no longer accepting appointments. What we're trying to do is engineer our product to be much easier to install for your local mechanic. You know, we have tens of thousands of independent shops across the United States. Some of them actually specialize just in like smog stations or exhaust work or something that is literally going to go away. You look at the legislation, Governor Gavin Newsom passed the other day. We're looking at 15 years now in California, and we won't have gas vehicles anymore. So if I'm an owner of an exhaust shop, I'm looking for somebody like an EV West to give me an integrated solution that I can start offering to my customers and transition my business into a sustainable model.
That's
actually, can we talk just a smidgen more about that? Because I think that's really important. One of the things that we talk about in our transition to electric vehicles is sort of similar to the, okay, clean energy, what happens to the jobs? Like, how do we help coal miners transition to clean energy? And that's, I think that's a similar thing here for how do we help mechanics get ready for the electric vehicle transition.
Yeah, there's so many parallels there, right? And we can look at the coal industry and see how areas have fared with education and transition projects and other areas maybe not as well. And so it really is kind of one of those things. I actually watched Gavin Newsom's announcement live. I never do this, but it's so personally affected our business and what we do that I watched the whole thing. And he framed it in such a good way that he is incentivizing businesses in California to get ahead of the global curve. And this happened with our automotive segment in the 80s and 90s. We got so stagnant that we fell behind the world. And when you look at these graphs of exports and how many cars we exported and we soon became an importer, it was mainly because we fell behind in technology. And we're about to let that happen again in the way that Governor Newsom framed it, in the way that he's incentivizing these businesses to stay ahead of the technology curve so California can continue to export their technology and bring money and all this stuff to the region. And I mean, case in point.
And create jobs.
Yeah. Create jobs, create lots of jobs.
That is fantastic. Stuart, do you have a question next, or do you want me to kick one off again?
But here's one, a little bit of celebrity here. Is it true that you did a vehicle for Ewan McGregor?
Yes, he loves it. He drives it fast. Don't tell him I said he loves it. We went up, I think, Topanga Canyon and lost a hubcap. We were on a turn so fast. They might show some more footage of that. I know they filmed some. I never know what's going to make the show. I didn't even know I was in the show until I started getting text messages. So, but he is absolutely as genuine as he comes off. He loves electric. He's very forward thinking. We're doing another vehicle for him coming up, a much more classic car. He's very open with letting us share stuff. I know social media is not super kind to celebrities anymore, so I think he's off of it. But
I don't think it's kind to anyone.
Yeah, there's paparazzi that follows him around and they take pictures of him in his electric vehicle and everything. And he sent us a video the other day. He was in it with his daughters, and he just discovered that we put a passenger trolley bell in there to warn pedestrians, because you don't want to honk a loud horn at them. For owners of the early Volt, you know about this pedestrian horn. They took it away. Shame on you, GM. But we put a pedestrian horn in there, and they absolutely love it. So he's just such a neat guy to actually, take something. And I mean, yes, he's got panels at his house. He's totally sustainable. He's creating solar. He's driving on solar. The real deal. We need more people like Ewan out there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it for the rest of our audience. Will you be selling kits for mechanically and electrically inclined people to convert their classic car at home?
Yeah, eventually. I mean, look, the long-term goal here is to make something super integrated, like something you would buy from Jags or Summit. That's what EV West wants to be, the speed shop, the electric speed shop of the future. And ideally, these cars aren't going to change. If you've got a 69 Camaro, it's the same as everybody else's 69 Camaro. And eventually we want to get to the point, we know that car, we've got it scanned, it's in our computer, and we want to make parts that just fit and bolt right in. And that's very much where we want to be. It's just a lot of work, and it's going to take a couple of years.
And how are you helping the mechanic? I'm not going to do that.
Well, you could, for example, Blair, you could probably, with a mechanic friend, swap a motor. Say, just change a motor in a Honda or something.
You're that dad, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But that doesn't mean that you could program the electric fuel injection. Right? And so that's what we want. We want people that are mechanical and capable, can maybe do some custom fabrication and mount the components, mount the battery box. But we're trying to get it to a point where you don't need to know the inner workings of an integrated battery monitoring system, or you don't even need to program CAN bus. You just need to connect that CAN bus connector to the display, and it works because we did the coding for you. So that's where we come in as a partner for a lot of that technology. And at the end of the day, you need the minds and you need the hands and the able working bodies of people installing this stuff and that customer relationship too. And we need these, shops, whether it's old exhaust shops or smog shops, but we definitely need mechanic shops across America and the whole world to do this.
Absolutely.
Here's one. Are all your power plants Tesla?
No. No, we buy, most of our motors do come new from manufacturers. The Tesla, you probably see a little bit more because the name carries a little bit of sachet behind it. Plus they're 500 horsepower units. They're amazing when they're in a 5,000 pound Tesla vehicle. You can imagine what they're like when they're in a 2,500 pound vintage car. So they get a lot of the press, they get a lot of the excitement. If a TV show comes in the shop and they want to drive something, they usually drive something fast. It usually has a Tesla motor. But actually the majority of the stuff that we do, I would have to say, our drive units from companies like our partners at NetGain Motors and our partners at HPEVS, High Performance Vehicle Systems. These are both family-owned companies. One of them's based out of Michigan. One of them's based out of, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. The other one's based out of California here. And so we really like supporting those manufacturers.
That's great.
So here's an interesting suggestion or wish, hope. Someone sent in that they would like to see a 289 AC Cobra converted.
Yeah, that's a fantastic car. Yeah, no, perfect. Great taste. There's all sorts of ways to do it. Just today, we released a new Tesla crate motor that we've been working on for a long time that will allow you to mount that up front and then put the battery back elsewhere and still use your solid axle rear end, which is the standard type of form of, drive line and suspension in the rear end of a Cobra. So we are kind of tackling these different applications, and as time goes on, our solutions become more integrated, so it's easier and easier for the customer. But that's a great vehicle, and it's fantastic, and we do have systems for that. And for anybody that's interested and wants to find out more, general inquiries, you can just email sales@evwest.com. And if you want to get in touch with me directly, I usually hang out in tech support, and you can write me at support@evwest.com. I like the nerdy stuff, so.
Here's a question asking if the conversions that you do have regenerative braking.
Yes. When we got into the industry, most motors were what they call DC series wound. Basically your old school brushed motors. Nowadays, everything's brushless. And what that allows is these computers to adjust the timing and keep them more efficient and whatnot. The efficiency gains are so big, it can't be ignored. The most important thing in an electric vehicle is range. And if you put a DC motor in there that actually requires more battery, you're going to get less range. So the actual cost difference of the extra battery, if you amortize that into the cost of the motor, the DC motors just don't make sense anymore. So all of the AC motors have a regenerative brake function, and pretty much for the most part, with very few exceptions, the entire electric vehicle industry has gone to AC or a brushless DC, which is, it's a nuanced definition of whether it's AC or DC, but all of the brushless stuff has the regenerative braking feature.
Well, you actually just answered another question that's in the Q&A. It says, in the old days of EV conversion, there was the decision between AC or DC motors. With DC motors, you usually kept the conventional transmission. Is that true? And are there still some conversions that retain the transmission? Sounds like we're moving towards AC, so maybe not.
No, it's a little bit more nuanced, and that's a fantastic question, because what determines the amount of torque that a motor has is its current. And for how much of an RPM range it can apply that torque is its voltage. And because of that, cars like the Tesla go up to about 16,000 RPM. Now that super wide usable RPM range is what allows them to not have a transmission, right? It's not necessarily that it's brushless, it's that it creates torque over such a broad range of RPM that you essentially don't need to shift. And so the short answer to that question is, in general, if your motor runs at less than 200 volts, you're going to have a narrower band of usable torque in the RPM range, and you're most likely going to need a transmission, right? If you run above 200 volts, you're likely going to have a wide RPM band, and you can probably get away without a transmission. Now, that's the short answer. There's exceptions and stuff, but for most everyone, that's going to be the quick and easy answer for them. And a lot of the 400 volt systems, it's really neat. You truly don't need a transmission. I mean, our Bonneville car, on the Electroliner, we set up Instagram page at Electrify and check it out. It's really
I
neat.
was
But
gonna say, I have to go find this.
we did a run up on our test stand, and we ran it from 0 to 337 miles an hour without shifting gears. And just the sound of a motor going from 0 to over 300 miles an hour without shifting is phenomenal. And so as we go forward, we're going to see more and more of these high voltage systems. You're going to see more 800 volt systems coming on the market. And who knows beyond that? It's exciting. Can't wait to see what's coming. But yeah, you're going to see more and more of that because of getting away from the inefficiencies of the transmission.
That's awesome. Your YouTube channel, apparently it was dark for a little while.
Oh, it was dark for 5 years.
Now there's been some posts on it lately. Are you going to keep posting on that? And
who said that? Who's the customer? Who's the question?
Oh, I think that's Stuart.
Thank
I
you.
think we can thoroughly blame Stuart for that one.
I thank them for sticking with us. We got so busy, we just got away from it. And you know what the problem was is what people don't realize, you go out into the shop and you film all this stuff, and then you come back into the office and you have days and days and days of editing, and it was taking away from what we wanted to do. We really just wanted to build cars. We wanted to share that love, but it became overbearing. And we just got to a point where we were spending so much time. We're like, let's make some adjustments. We'll come back next year. Well, we said that 5 years in a row. And we finally got the show to a point where we've lowered our production standards. So I apologize, less wireless microphones, less fancy cameras. The editing's a little quicker, but we've got it going again. And we've got it in a model now that we can sustain new videos at least every other week. We're shooting for every week, but about every other week now we're putting out a video. And it feels good to get what you guys got to see earlier on the quick tour, to get that out there and show people what's going on here.
And what's
content development is hard.
Channel, Michael?
I'm sorry, Stuart?
What's the channel?
It's just EV West. Yeah, the EV West YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We put it under the name EV Show because it's kind of a little show, but it's just the EV West YouTube channel.
No, I can sympathize. I can feel Nate in the background going, oh my gosh, content development is hard and time consuming. It truly, truly is.
And at the end of the day, we weren't so interested in this slick video that had really good production quality. We were more interested in the content, like showing them this is the internals of this particular battery pack, or this is how we bolted, this is how we mated the motor to the drivetrain. Things like that is what we really wanted to show, the details.
Yeah. So question for you, and I have a feeling the answer might be it depends, but I'm going to try and ask it anyway.
Okay.
What's the average time it takes to do a conversion in your shop?
Well, Blair, it depends.
I knew it.
That's fantastic. I mean, I've got boilerplate answers for all
I paid
the
him to say this.
but we tell customers 400 hours right now. How good or you are at these skills, I don't know. Now here, we used to do that, but more and more as time went on, we realized we're more needed as engineers and integrators. So a lot of our projects, we'll bring a car in and spend a year just converting it into SolidWorks before we start actually doing the engineering in the computer. So we're not trying to win any races with how quick we do it. We're really focusing on efficiencies and repeatability in the cars that we do. But for customers that are coming into this and they have a car, I generally tell them, hey, you're doing a Volkswagen kit, it's your first time, plan on about 400 hours. That's a really good estimate.
Michael, are you, I think people in the industry know about you, but you've also been interviewed by New York Times and Wall Street Journal. Are you at all surprised at kind of how the notoriety of EV West, and like it's kind of, people are really excited about the work you do. Does that surprise you? That make you happy? You're like, no, obviously it's two of the coolest things come out.
That's tough, Stuart, because I'm genuinely so intrigued. And I absolutely love my job, right? They keep trying to get me to leave and I'll do this for free, right? Yeah, so I don't know about the notoriety thing. I really don't. It doesn't do anything for us. I would have way more fun talking to a fellow nerd about like some, CAN bus thing or something like that. But we have a lot of fun with it. And we especially get so excited. It feels good when people share in that pride of what you're doing, and we've connected with so many people across the United States and across the world that are doing this. And that means like so much more than just some guy from the New York Times. I apologize, New York Times reporter. Guy.
Sorry,
But,
New York Times. You're
but
not
no,
that important.
it really does. I mean, there's you know, it means a lot when guys like, well, Jay Leno comes in the shop or something like that, because, you know, guys like that, they really know a lot and they're knowledgeable. And when those types of customers or people are really turning on to the EV thing and really promoting it, they're not just okay with it, they're getting behind it and they're pushing it and promoting it. And, you know, he's in here and off camera, like, you know, bending my ear back about him and his wife drive Teslas, and his wife's got this Fiat 500, and she, you know, and all this stuff and all these stories that you don't normally get. And you're like, that's cool. He gets it. And to me, you know, I'll take those experiences any day. But at the same time, we're on a mission here, all of us collectively, when we're doing the symposium to get the word out there. And at the same time, if you want to get the word out there, outlets like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Car and Driver magazine, some of these, and thank you, all of you guys, for covering us, because this is how we get the story out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Dad, for sending this to me once a month.
Yeah, that's a father thing. I get it from my
I have no
dad,
idea
too.
how I got signed up, but it just shows up. This and Road and Track. And I was like, okay.
That's how I know my
now.
dad came by and visited the office. He gives me his recycled Road and Track. Oh, it's
So-
fantastic.
We've got a question in here, and it says, and maybe this is a quick one, but on the Westie, what range would you expect?
Well, it depends on what year Westie, because the older ones are lighter, so we can get a little bit more range out of them. We've got a couple Westies in the shop. I imagine maybe that question is towards the creamsicle bus back there, the bay window. That particular vehicle has 53 kilowatt hours of Tesla battery in it. It's about a 600-pound battery, so it's pretty lightweight, and we mounted it down on the floorboard, so the weight distribution is really good. We haven't driven it yet. We're estimating, I think, 350 to 400 watt hours per mile, which would be about 2.5, which would give it about 140-mile range or so, give or take.
Just give or take, doing those calculations
Depends on how
straight
much
up in your head.
is in there and all that stuff. So yeah.
And then kind of related, can you keep all the original gauges? Like, does the car look original otherwise, other than when you open the hood or the trunk?
Yeah, believe it or not, instrumentation is one of those areas that you can really, there's a wide range of stuff. Some customers want some of the latest technology, touchscreen technology, for example, and some of the customers don't want to be bothered with anything. I'm kind of in that latter group. I've got a lot of personal vintage EVs myself. My daily driver is a 1965 pickup truck, and it has a speedometer and a state of charge gauge. So I look down, it tells me my speed and 58% battery, and that's it. I don't need to know anything else, because I know and trust the electronics in there are going to limit my RPM, limit my temperatures, my voltage, all of that stuff. I really can't hurt my vehicle, so I just get in it and drive it. At the end of the day, I plug it in and I rinse and repeat that daily. And so from that standpoint, you know, as somebody in the industry, I don't want a lot of that information. I don't want to be bothered with it, but we also have these products. There's now apps that allow phones and mobile devices to be connected to Bluetooth. And because of our systems put that data stream out in a very compliant format, you can put that data stream onto your phone. So you could be in your 1950 Chevy Bel Air looking at a Bluetooth app at your motor temperature of your Tesla drive unit. You know, the sky's the limit really for this stuff. And a lot of these technologies that are, you know, quite surprisingly affordable are available to us in this. It just, Stuart, you know, that's a real personal question. Some guys are just sitting there cringing, thinking about some perfect steel dash, you know, just getting polluted with an LCD touchscreen or something like that. So I'm a classic guy. I like original paint, original dash, original instrumentation, but that doesn't mean that that's your only option.
So here's another question for us. It says, how do you choose which of the various donor motors to use for a conversion?
So, you know, you really want the most powerful one, right? When they started hot rods back in the day, they weren't pulling little V6s and four bangers out of cars. They were going straight to the Galaxy 500 and these big blocks and pulling the big motors out, the 427s and things like that. So, you know, we really mimic that. We're taking a motor from a luxury sedan. The Tesla Model S is a luxury sedan, very heavy, and we're putting it in lightweight classic cars. So, you know, the Tesla is recognizable as a brand, and it's a darn good motor, and it's 400 plus kilowatt depending on the model. And for all of those reasons combined, that's kind of our go-to motor for choice. Now, we do a lot of specialty programs, and we have a lot of customers that need repeatability and they can't use a used product like the custom motor. And so we've got lots of solutions for customers like that as well. Lots of, brand new factory fresh motors. It just depends on what everybody's going for, and everybody's kind of doing something different, right?
Yeah,
that's why we have so many
course.
gas engine variations. I mean, the wide range of size and power and features in gas motors. Eventually, we're going to see the electric vehicle market mature to that level.
Michael, we know you're a car guy, but have you ever ridden an electric motorcycle, or would you ever do a motorcycle conversion?
Yes, absolutely. We've done them here in the shop. We've done a dirt bike here. I'm kind of a dirt bike guy. At one point, I had 10 motorcycles in my garage, and then I got married and wised up that was probably a bad ratio to have. I currently own 3 Alta motorcycles, the Alta electric bikes. I absolutely love them to death. Ride them all the time. My kid is now riding a small electric dirt bike, and we're starting to do the electric dirt bike thing together. So yeah, absolutely big fan. I don't currently own a street bike, but I think that's more because I'm married and have a kid now. It's like I trust myself off road. I just don't trust the other people on the road anymore. So I'll probably stay away from the electric bike. But every time one comes through here, I ride them. Really like them. Our Bonneville driver actually has a land speed record on an electric a Lightning electric motorcycle. And so, I think the cars and the electric bikes go hand in hand.
How fast was the bike record?
I think the driver's name's Jim Hoogerhide, and I believe his first record was 211 miles an hour, 205 or 211. Yeah, over 200 miles an hour on an electric motorcycle. Just amazing.
I would die. I would hit a pebble and I would fall to the ground and I would die.
Yeah.
That would be how I went. So
and, going back to Ewan McGregor, if I could, I mean, that show just
course.
really makes me want to get out on a motorcycle again.
You're talking a long way up, but they're just released, right?
Yeah, just amazing to see them out there adventuring on the motorcycles. It's just great television.
I'm gonna have to get Apple TV to watch this. I mean, I have been holding back, and now this is gonna be the thing that does it. So we've got about 5 minutes left, and I have more of like a personal big picture, question for you. We got to meet your son. He's precious. Thank you so much for letting him join us. That was awesome. Is his first car going to be an electric vehicle? What does this mean for you and your family?
Oh, I thought it was going to be a tough question.
Inspiring, pithy.
So now we have 4.5 minutes left. Yeah, no, of course. It's so crazy, right? Because I mean, this again was something that I bonded with my dad. Like, it wasn't just like go out in the garage, son. I was out there and I was like, hey, Dad, I can't get to this underside bolt on these headers that I'm putting in. Well, if you put bubble gum on your finger, son, and da-da-da. So, and that's where it all came from. And so now I'm doing that with my son, and absolutely, like we're gonna, I'm sure, build 4 cars before he even has a driver's license. I would hope. I mean, that's my dream. But yeah, I mean, you can't force children, for all the parents out there, this, you just let them do their thing. And thankfully for me, being a car guy, he's into it. He very much enjoys cars. He likes it. He was out there at Bonneville with us and goes to a lot of these car shows and events that we do. And he's like our #1 fan. So it's fantastic. Besides my wife. My wife's probably the #1 fan. He's a #2 fan.
So did she drive electric when you guys met, or did you convert her?
No, she was at the time driving a Honda, but then right away we went out and got a Volt
Nice.
and drove the very early first generation Volt all the way till its end, got a 2nd generation Volt. And yeah, so I mean, but yeah, ever since we've been together, we've been an electric family. Yeah.
You're just converting people, no pun intended, left and right. I did not do that on purpose.
It's not tough, Blair. Like when you sit down and you just, with an unbiased approach, just look at the pros and the cons. And this was, I mean, I'd love to say, and it is driving it, the environmentalism, but at the end of the day, it's a financial decision. We spend less money to drive. We spend less money on electricity. I have a tough time getting mad at the kid when he's standing there with the fridge door open because he's wasting solar. How's that? And so it's just neat, to kind of feel that and to know on a monthly basis, we're putting, 30, 40, 50% of what we produce back into the grid. And so now my neighbors are just a touch cleaner. And you know, it feels good, because if more and more people just kind of start doing this, we're going to look around before we know it, and we're going to achieve these lofty goals that we set for ourselves, and then we can go on to you know, having fun and working on other things. But right now, this is a problem. You know, I find one of the most fascinating things about Elon Musk, and he's been very open with it. He never got into this for the environment. For him, he approached it as an engineer, and it was an actual energy problem. It was an energy transportation problem. And he was one of the early ones that did something about the thought that at some point when we do run out of gas, the actual economy is going to collapse in a way that's much greater than what we've seen with the pandemic and all these other things. If you can't get goods into stores, you're not going to run out of toilet paper. You're going to run out of food, you know? And so he saw this, and the whole impetus of Tesla was solving this problem. It had nothing to do with the environmentalism. This wasn't until just the last century that we've started to seeing the Antarctic ice shelf melt at an alarming rate, and all of these other things that are quantitatively measurable that we can now say, hey, this is definitively happening, and it's a big deal, and it's a good thing that we have companies like Tesla. It's important to understand that the origins of those companies are more founded in the sustainable energy model. And that's what a lot of guys like us here, the engineers and stuff like that, to us, it's more of like this model of, you know, you're kind of solving the sustainability thing.
Yeah, it's resiliency, you know, power from your own roof. We love it.
Yeah,
Well,
it doesn't get any better. As we say, free 90 free a gallon.
Michael, it's been great talking with you. Thank you so much for your time. I think the audience has been super engaged, and we learned a lot, and it's really, it's entertaining too and inspiring. So we can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. I had so much fun. Would love to do it again. Make National Drive Electric Week every week, literally make it every week. And we'll see you guys next year in 52 weeks. How's that sound?
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Put it on the calendar.
Have a
Thanks
great-
everybody for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael.